Shalom, Israel. This is Soldier Jason with SOT, and I want to do a lesson today on the pig, the swine, that dirty animal. We were instructed by Yahweh not to even touch its dead carcass, but yet a lot of us eat this thing as a delicacy. So I want to take you to the dietary law in Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 8. And you'll see it on my screen highlighted. And it says, "And the swine, because it divideth the hoof, yet cheweth not the cud, it is unclean to you. Ye shall not eat of their flesh, nor touch their dead carcass." Focus real quick on this part about yet cheweth not the cud. Clean animals have two stomachs, so they'll chew their food, digest it in one stomach, then they will vomit it up, re-chew it, and digest it in the second stomach. And by doing that, they're able to take grass and things of that nature and turn it into energy for their bodies. A pig cannot do that. It does not digest its food properly. Therefore, Yahweh says, "It is unclean unto you. Ye shall not eat of their flesh." So we shouldn't be eating pig. Throw the bacon away. Nor touch their dead carcass. Don't even entertain it in your home with other people who come over to visit. You don't want to touch that thing. I'm going to take you now to Revelation chapter 6, verse 8. Our Lord has a lot to say about this animal. Okay, here we go. Revelation 6 and 8. And it's highlighted in gray right here. Hope you can see my mouse. "And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with the sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth." Now, I want you to focus on that fourth part of the earth for just a second. I'm going to show you something real quick. So I did a search on medieval three-part earth, because back then they thought the earth was only in three parts. So here are some images right here. I'm going to click on this. Okay, so you'll see right here where my mouse is, it says Asia, Europe, Africa. It has Argean and Black Sea right here, Nile and Red Sea over here by Africa, and Mediterranean Sea running between Africa and Europe. Right here in the middle, they have Jerusalem. And you'll see a bunch of these maps down here. And they're all showing the same thing. They know nothing about the Americas at this time, so it's known as a three-part earth. Okay? Here goes another one. Asia, Europe, Africa. And you could go all the way down through here. And you can search this yourself. Nothing fancy in there. Just medieval three-part earth. Okay? So that's what they knew about back then. Yet, we see John the Revelator talking about a fourth part. "And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death. And hell followed with him, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with a sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth." So let's see what happened in the fourth part of the earth. I'm going to use another resource. This book here is called 1491, New Revelations of the Americas Before Columbus. So it's not dealing with the year 1491. It's just using that to say we're talking about the time before Columbus, because Columbus came in 1492. And really, he did not even set foot on the mainland America. So I highlighted a couple of things in here for you. So if you go right here by where my thumb is, it says, "After De Soto left," De Soto was a Spaniard was a Spaniard that came in and looked around the Americas. After De Soto left, no Europeans visited this part of Mississippi Valley for more than a century. Early in 1682, white people appeared again, this time Frenchmen in canoes. So De Soto came and he went west of the Mississippi. And that didn't happen again until 1682 when some French men came. So if we go down here, it gives a little bit more detail on these French men. And this book is 1491. I'm on page 108. It says, when the French came in and the record opened again because you got to remember, they didn't, no white men had come for a while. It was a transformed reality. A civilization crumbled. The question is, how did this happen? So when the French came back in, the natives were dead. So now we're going to read what the anthropologists say about it. Today, most historians, I'm sorry, I don't have that so you can see it. Today, most historians and anthropologists believe the culprit was disease. And the view of Ramanovsky and Patricia Galloway, an anthropologist at the University of Texas, the source of contagion was very likely not De Soto's army, but his ambulatory meat locker. His 300 pigs. De Soto's company was too small to be an effective biological weapon. Sicknesses like measles and smallpox would have burned through his 600 men long before they reached the Mississippi. But that would not have been true for pigs. So what it's telling you is De Soto came through and he leaves, and then no white people come in again to 1682. During that time, the Native Americans in that area died off, and it was from disease. And that disease was brought in through these pigs. Remember, we read in Revelation chapter 6 and 8. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth to kill with the sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. So let's go over here to page 109. This is very interesting. It says, when humans and domesticated animals share quarters, they are constantly exposed to each other's microbes. Over time, mutation lets animal diseases jump to people. Avian influenza becomes human influenza. We're talking about the flu now. Bovine rinderpest becomes human measles. Horsepox becomes human smallpox. Let's go to the middle of the page. It says, by contrast, swine, that's the pig, mainstays of European agriculture, transmit anthrax, brucellosis, leptospirosis, trichinosis, and tuberculosis. Pigs breed exuberantly and can pass diseases to deer and turkeys, which then can infect people. Only a few of De Soto's pigs would have had to wander off to contaminate the forest. Now, do you really think that De Soto didn't know what was happening? You think Europe didn't know what was happening? They released these pigs and then they stayed out of the region for a couple of centuries. Then they come back in and the natives are gone. They're dead. Let me give you another resource. So this book here is Guns, Germs, and Steel by Jared Diamond. The previous book is 1491, New Revelations of the Americas Before Columbus by Charles C. Mann. Let's get into this Guns, Germs, and Steel real quick. Now remember, Death, a person called Death, was given And I looked to behold a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth. So what I'm showing you right now is what happened in the fourth part of the earth. Let's see, can we get this on the camera? It says, all those military histories glorifying great generals oversimplify the ego-deflating truth. The winners of past wars were not always the armies with the best generals and weapons, but were often merely those bearing the nastiest germs to transmit to their enemies. That's page 189. So this biological germ warfare has been around a long time. Israel has not necessarily been the ones doing it, but we have definitely been the ones that have been on the receiving end. So let's go to page 190 real quick. See if we can get the page number in there. 190. Right here in the middle of the page, it says, the worm responsible for trichinosis, which gets from pigs to us by waiting for us to kill the pig and eat it without proper cooking, and the worm causing anischiasis, with which sushi-loving Japanese and Americans occasionally affect themselves by consuming raw fish. I wanted to add that part about the raw fish in there because that's one of the abominable things that we do is eat raw foods. We are not supposed to eat blood, okay? Now, I wanted to get into this book a little bit because I want to show that this stuff about bringing the pig over, taking it to a region and leaving, none of it was by accident. This stuff was planned. I'm going to show you something. Let's get to page 191. It says, U.S. whites bent on wiping out, right here where it's red, U.S. whites bent on wiping out belligerent Native Americans sent them gifts of blankets previously used by smallpox patients. See, I thought it was important to add this because you can read the stuff about the pig and say, well, maybe they didn't know and they accidentally brought the pig over. They didn't know what the repercussions were going to be. They absolutely knew. And not only did they bring the pig over, but they took blankets and gave them to the natives so that they could take them back to their villages and expose their people to smallpox. Then they stay away for a couple of centuries, let the air clear out, and then they come back in. The next thing they start singing, this land is your land, and this land is my land. All right, so I want to take you to another scripture. Let's go now to Isaiah chapter 66, verse 17. Isaiah 66 and 17. Hitting this camera awful lot. All right. It says, they that sanctify themselves, Isaiah 66 and 17, highlighted up here in gray. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the garden behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh and the abomination. That's why I wanted to show you the part about eating sushi. Don't go to these restaurants eating all this raw stuff. It is not for us. Let me read again, Isaiah 66 and 17. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh and the abomination and the mouse. Yes, there are parts of the world where people eat mice. Shall be consumed together, saith the Lord. So I've given you two warnings. In Revelation, it tells you what's going to happen in the fourth part of the earth. And a lot of that was going to be done with the beast. We, as the tribe of Judah, were brought over to the fourth part of the earth, and now we're joined together with the northern kingdom in Babylon. And so we've been exposed to this pig as well. And now there's no physical war going on where war is declared by Europe against the natives or anything like that. But in all of our food sources now, we have the swine, the pig, and you have to do your best to avoid it. It's going to kill you. I showed you, did I take you to, let me take you to the CDC report. Okay, so right here at the top, let me see, let me turn this a little bit and make sure y'all see that this is from the CDC. It says CDC Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. All right, let's read a little bit of this report here. And this was August 12th, 2016. CDC recommends high-risk people avoid pigs and swine bars at fairs. All right, we got that right there. CDC recommends high-risk people avoid pigs and swine bars at fairs. It says August 12th, 2016. Well, we know what kicked in around that time. It says 4 human infections with influenza viruses that normally circulate in swine. And then in parentheses, they say swine influenza, and we've heard of swine flu, were reported by the CDC this week. When swine influenza viruses are detected in people, they are called variant viruses. Haven't we been hearing a lot about variants lately? And you're getting boosters for what? Variants. And are designed with a letter V at the end of the virus subtype. The 4 human infections were caused by H3N2 V viruses in Ohio. There were 2 cases in Ohio and 2 in Michigan. All 4 patients reported attending fairs where they had exposure to pigs during the week preceding illness onset. Now look at this. They didn't even eat the pigs. They went to the fair. They went to the area where they have the livestock, and they were exposed to these pigs. The pigs were alive, and they caught viruses from them. Pigs at the fairs have reportedly tested positive for swine influenza infection. The Ohio patients are not related, other than both of them reporting having attended the same fair in Ohio. Okay, so enough of that. Let's go down some. Once you see the next paragraph, right here at the top, swine influenza is a respiratory disease of pigs caused by type A influenza viruses that cause outbreaks in pigs. Signs of swine flu in pigs include fever, coughing, sneezing, breathing difficulties, eye redness or inflammation, and not eating. Some pigs infected with influenza, however, may show no signs of illness at all. So right here in the next paragraph, they tell you it doesn't usually affect people. However, sporadic human infections with these viruses have occurred. Now, this is what I want you to see, this paragraph right here. Most commonly, human infections with variant viruses occur in people with exposure to infected pigs. Let's read that again. Most commonly, human infections with variant viruses occur in people with exposure to infected pigs. Illness associated with variant virus infection includes symptoms similar to those of seasonal flu. Most illness has been mild. But as with seasonal flu, hospitalization and death can occur. Now, when I read to you in Revelation that death with hell following was given power over the 4th part of the earth, are you seeing how it correlates to what the CDC is telling you? Let's go back in here again. But as with seasonal flu, hospitalization and death can occur. There have been documented cases of multiple people becoming sick after exposure to 1 or more infected pigs, and also cases of limited spread of variant influenza viruses from person to person. Leave the pig alone, Israel. How many warnings do you need? Leave the pig alone. It is unclean unto you. Shalom, Israel. I hope this has been an edifying lesson.